The hotel room. During a business trip, Norman checked into a cheap hotel. The receptionist warned him, never look into the mirror after midnight. He laughed it off and went to his room. At 12:30 a.m., he woke to faint knocking. The mirror across the room shimmered, as if water rippled through it. Curious and half-daring, he stood before it. His reflection smiled, but he hadn't moved his lips. Startled, he backed away. The reflection stepped closer, pressing its hand against the glass. Cracks spread like spiderwebs, and a whisper escaped, "Let me in." He ran to the door, but it was stuck. Behind him, the mirror shattered, scattering shards across the floor. When the staff entered the next morning, the room was empty, only the mirror was whole again, showing Norman's terrified face trapped inside, banging silently while his reflection sat calmly on the bed. The doorbell. At 2 a.m., Adil's doorbell rang. Through the peephole, he saw himself standing outside, smiling.
The origin of Raven's Hollow. Long before Daniel and Claire vanished, before the village was abandoned, Raven's Hollow was a thriving settlement. In the late 1800s, it was known for its fertile land and endless harvests. Travelers passing through often said the soil seemed unnaturally rich, as if blessed by something beyond nature. But the truth was darker. In 1861, the villagers faced a year of famine. Crops failed, livestock died, and starvation spread. Desperate, the townspeople turned to Elias Crow, a man whispered to be both a preacher and a sorcerer. He promised them food and survival at a price. One moonless night, Elias led the villagers deep into the forest. They gathered around a great stone carved with strange markings. There he taught them a ritual to bind the village to a force he called the Hollow. He explained that the Hollow was not a place, but a hunger, an ancient presence that fed on souls in exchange for endless prosperity. The villagers agreed. That night, they gave their first offering, a traveling merchant who had stopped in Raven's Hollow by chance. His screams echoed through the woods as the fire swallowed him. The next morning, crops flourished again, animals grew fat, and no one went hungry. From then on, every year, they made an offering. Some victims were travelers, some outsiders, sometimes even one of their own. The Hollow demanded loyalty, and in return, it gave them everything. Slowly, their eyes began to change. Black veins crept across their skin, and smiles stretched unnaturally wide. They were no longer human, but servants of the Hollow. By 1893, word had spread. Authorities tried to investigate, but every man sent into the forest disappeared. Raven's Hollow was erased from maps, its existence covered up. But the villagers didn't vanish. They continued their rituals, trapped in a cycle that outlived time. Now in the present day, Daniel and Claire had stumbled into that same cycle. And they weren't the only ones. A paranormal research team, inspired by the viral videos of Daniel and Claire, decided to explore. 5 members entered the forest with advanced equipment, thermal cameras, drones, and EMF scanners. They laughed at the warnings, treating the trip like an adventure. At first, everything seemed normal. But as night fell, their instruments malfunctioned. Drones dropped from the sky, cameras recorded static, and their compasses spun in circles. One by one, they began hearing whispers in the trees. A voice repeating their names. Sarah. Michael. Jacob. The team leader dismissed it as stress, but when they reached the center of Raven's Hollow, all laughter stopped. In the middle of the ruined village, square stood the great stone Elias Crow had used. Fresh blood dripped down its sides, though no one had touched it. One of the researchers, Sarah, screamed and pointed. A group of villagers stood at the edge of the square, silent, unmoving. Their clothes were from another century, their eyes bottomless black. Among them, the team recognized Daniel and Claire. Both smiled, their faces pale, their voices in unison. "You came to see us. Now you stay." Panic spread. The team ran, but the streets looped endlessly. No matter where they turned, They returned to the square. The villagers closed in, chanting in low voices. The team's cameras kept rolling. In the footage later recovered, one researcher begged, "Please let us go." A villager stepped forward. It was Elias Crow himself, untouched by time. His voice was deep and hollow. The hollow feeds. The hollow grows. You are not here by accident. You are chosen. The ritual began. Flames erupted around the square. The villagers surrounded the researchers, their voices rising. One by one, the researchers fell silent as their bodies went limp, their eyes turning black. Only one escaped, Jacob. He stumbled through the woods and somehow found himself outside the forest by sunrise. He carried one camera, shaking and bloodied. The footage was incomplete, ending with Daniel's face staring into the lens.